And thank you for joining us for the second half hour. The Factor Uncensored legal battles continue for President Trump's mass deportation effort. Today, a federal judge blocked Mr. Trump from stripping deportation protections for thousands of Venezuelans. The group was first granted temporary protected status in 2021 amid high levels of crime. Now, the judge says the government failed to identify any real harm in continuing TPS. This news comes as a TikTok user's video goes viral asking people to shoot at ICE agents on sight.
Shoot at ICE agents on sight. That's right. If ICE agents are trying to take you or a loved one, shoot them on sight. The way they're pulling up with masks on, with unmarked vehicles, no badge, no nothing, it could be anybody. It can be gang members. You have every right to shoot at them. This would be the best self-defense case. You're just in fear for your life. You don't know who's behind that unmarked vehicle or who's behind that mask.
Wow. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem has since responded, saying anyone who tries this will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Joining us to talk about it, immigration attorney Gordon Kwan and Director of Fiel Houston, Cesar Espinosa. So first of all, let's focus on Judge Edward Chin's decision out of San Francisco on the president's effort to deport Venezuelans as a result of, or some would say, ignoring TPS.
Right.
For those who are not familiar with TPS, tell us about that first. Establish that.
The president can declare temporary protected status if he feels that a certain group of people are either being persecuted, or there's civil war in their area, or there's a natural disaster. So it's been used for many years. What Judge Chin was looking at was we're part of a thing called the Convention Against Torture. And when Biden designated Venezuela for TPS, he felt that there was torture there and that there was violence against the population that led to that TPS determination. And this administration has done nothing to now say that that does not apply. And so he granted a temporary injunction to see if, in fact, these cases meet the standard of protection.
And Cesar, this has been one in a series of setbacks for the president when it comes to his deportation effort here in the United States. Federal Judge Boasberg in Washington, D.C. wanted answers as to why he flew out some what he considered illegal immigrants, flew them out of the country and ordered them back, but they had already landed, I think, in El Salvador. So your thoughts about these setbacks that we have seen for the president's administration?
The problem with President Trump is that he thinks he's above the law, and he thinks that by the power of his pen, not by the power of anybody else's pen, but his pen, then he can rewrite law and rewrite and do unprecedented things. One of the families that we've been talking to in the last couple of weeks is saying that their family member was taken to El Salvador, a Venezuelan national, and he doesn't really have any charges or anything against them. But
no, the administration said that these individuals were part of a dangerous gang.
See, the thing is that they're saying they're using things now like things that they're using too much discretion. They're making things up in some of these cases where they say a gentleman with a flower tattoo in his hand is considered a criminal. So like now you can't have any tattoos. I mean, there's so many things that they're doing, trying to rewrite and trying to make immigration law favorable to the needs of President Trump, not to the needs of the nation, not to the needs of the law, but rather to the will of President Trump.
And Gordon, for those who say, well, I voted for the president, this is what I wanted, this is what I want to see in America, what would you say to those supporters out there, those
You
voters?
know, I understand that if there are criminal aliens, that they need to be removed. There's no question about it, and I think everybody's in agreement with that. But we have this thing called due process of law under the Constitution. If you're here, Isaiah, and I suddenly say, you know, this guy, I think he's up to no good. I'm just going to take him into custody and ship him out. And you're like, wait a minute, don't I get to go before a judge? Don't I get to have my day in court? And this is what's going on with these people. Under our immigration laws and under the Constitution, you have your right to tell your story before a judge. Actually, when they detain somebody and Cesar knows this, they're supposed to issue a notice to appear explaining exactly what the grounds are that you're being charged with. You have a right to a bond hearing to see, are you a threat to society? Will you run away? Are you a good risk to be here? All this is being obviated. And he's using this War Powers Act of alien sedition that's never been used or only been used in wartime. And he's saying, I can do whatever I want, I don't care. This guy looks like a criminal, I'm going to ship him out.
We'll continue our conversation with you guys in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. We'll continue talking about this issue and the immigration situation here in America in just a moment here on The Factor Uncensored. Don't
At ICE agents on site. That's right. If ICE agents are trying to take you or a loved one, shoot them on site.
All right, that's Bilal Dunk from TikTok. And of course, gentlemen, we probably can all agree that's not the way to go, especially with ICE agents or federal or anyone in this country who's just doing their job. Unfortunately, a lot of people at this point don't like the job that they're doing, but this is bad advice. Your thoughts on that, Cesar?
This is one of those I want to smack myself in the head kind of moments. This is the worst thing that could be said at this time. You're turning a already very stressful, volatile situation and making it worse by spreading misinformation, by spreading fear. Also, really important to point out that under federal law, undocumented immigrants cannot own guns. So that would be another thing to add on to the already very complex, I mean, basically will lead you to a deportation. Worst advice that can be given. I mean, I know there's a lot of fear out there, but once again, this is proof that social media is full of bad advice, and some people should just not be sharing content trying to go viral.
All right, Gordon, your thoughts on this?
You know, I respect my friend here, but, you know, in Texas, you know what happened with the Hardy Street raid and so many other episodes where people come busting in your door, you don't know who they are, and you defend yourself. Texans have guns, you know? I mean, I'm just saying.
Yeah, but you're not saying go out
I'm
and
not
look
saying
for
go
it.
out for it, and he's not saying that either. He's saying when they come in unmarked cars without any badges, with their face covered, and they come and grab you, you don't know who the hell they are. And so under Texas law, you have the right to defend yourself and use whatever reasonable force you can muster to defend yourself at that time, within reason. So I'm not saying shoot these agents by any stretch, but I think it's law enforcement's responsibility to identify themselves, to say, I'm representing ICE, I'm representing the police, whoever I am, before I come and try to apprehend you.
And Cesar, for those who are wondering, we have seen instances where they come in masks and they're not in plain clothes and not identifying themselves. I mean, that's got to be scary.
Absolutely. I mean,
not murder-worthy, not murder-worthy, but it's got to be scary. You don't know who you're dealing with.
Definitely not. And I'll agree with Mr. Kwan in saying that, I mean, these things are happening. People are pulling up in unmarked vehicles or pulling up with vests that don't say ICE, but rather they say police, lying to people, telling them so. So we are in weird times. We're living in weird times where people can get picked up by who knows. And to top it all off, ICE is disappearing people. When they pick people up, they take them to detention centers. They don't necessarily put them into the system right away. So we have family members calling us saying that it's been 3-4 days since they hear from their loved one. They don't know where they are. They don't know if they've been kidnapped by somebody or a cartel, or I don't know. I mean, somebody. And then all of a sudden they appear in immigration. So, I mean, everybody has to do better. ICE has to do better.
When we see these agents in some instances, maybe, do you think, Gordon, that many of them are embarrassed to go back to their communities if they show their faces, if the cameras are there when they're taking individuals into custody or away? There's got to be a reason for the masks.
You know, Isaiah, I don't know. I honestly, to tell you the truth, We've had some federal agents come to my home before, and my wife was at home alone. And she said, "Let me see your badge. How do I know you're really who you say you are?" She called the office where they were from to verify that they really were government officials. And they said, "You know, you did right, ma'am. You checked it out, because you don't know who's coming knocking on your door." And as far as the mask, I mean, I assume that they're undercover and they don't want the public to know who they are. I don't think it's embarrassment. They're doing their job. But I think that they don't want to be spotted because they may be doing other raids as well.
Got it. All right. We want to thank you both for joining us here on The Factor Uncensored.